You left the conversation 20 minutes ago, you're in the car, or lying in bed, or staring at your screen, pretending to work, and you're replaying it. Again. That pause when you answered their question. The way they looked at you when you said that thing. The moment you laughed too loud, or not loud enough, or at the wrong time, and here's what you know for sure. You messed it up. Except, what if that certainty is the problem? What if the version you keep replaying isn't actually what happened? I'm not talking about you're being too hard on yourself. I'm talking about something way more specific. Your brain doesn't replay conversations like a recording. It reconstructs them. And if you're socially anxious, that reconstruction is happening through a threat-biased filter that can actually change what you remember. The replay feels like evidence, but it might be an edit. Let me show you what's happening. Here's the pattern you know too well. You have a conversation. It feels weird. In the moment, but you get through it. Then you leave. And that's when the real nightmare starts. You replay the whole thing, scanning for proof that you embarrassed yourself. And you find it. A look on their face. A silence that lasted too long. A comment they made that you now realize was probably sarcastic. And the more you replay it, the more certain you become. Yeah, that was bad. But here's the first thing most people don't realize. Your brain wasn't recording that conversation accurately while it was happening. Research on social anxiety shows that when you're in a social situation and you're anxious, your attention does something sneaky. It turns inward. You start monitoring yourself. How do I sound? Do I look nervous? Is my face doing something weird? Am I talking too much, not enough? And while you're busy running that internal audit, you're not fully processing what's actually happening in the room. You're watching yourself instead of watching them. So the data you store in, the moment is already skewed. You remember your own shaking hands, your heartbeat, the heat in your face. Those internal sensations feel like facts, but you miss the neutral stuff, the small smile they gave you, the normal eye contact, the 20 unremarkable seconds where the conversation just worked. That missing data, that's going to haunt you later. Because here's where it gets worse. Your brain doesn't just store incomplete information. It also has a nasty habit of reinterpreting ambiguous moments as threats. Someone pauses before they answer you. In the moment, that pause is just a pause. It's neutral. But when your brain replays it later, that pause becomes, they were trying to figure out how to politely tell me I'm boring. Someone gives you a quick, normal reply. In real time, it's just efficient communication. But in the replay, it becomes, they wanted to get away from me. Someone's face looks neutral, maybe a little tired. You replay it, and now it's disgust. The research is clear on this. People with social anxiety interpret ambiguous social cues as threatening. But it's not just that you see threat where there isn't any. It's that your brain struggles to generate the benign interpretation fast enough. The threatening version wins by default. So the replay you're watching isn't just missing the good stuff. It's actively converting unclear stuff into bad stuff. Your brain isn't zooming in on bad moments. It's creating them. And if that wasn't enough, there's a third layer. The memory gets darker over time. You'd think the opposite, right? You'd think that with distance, you'd calm down and see things more clearly. But research shows that for people with social anxiety, delayed recall can actually be more negative than what you remembered right after the event. In one study, people with social anxiety remembered positive feedback about their performance as less positive a week later than it actually was. The brain didn't just forget the good stuff, it actively downgraded it. Meanwhile, negative feedback got remembered as worse. So every time you replay that conversation over the next few days, you're not clarifying the memory. You're editing it, making it sharper, darker, more mortifying. The replay feels real because it's detailed, not because it's accurate. Now here's the part that makes the whole thing feel so convincing. The mental movie. When you replay a conversation, you're often not remembering it from inside your own experience. You're remembering it from the outside, like you're watching yourself on a screen. And the camera angle is not kind. Research shows that socially anxious people tend to recall social events from an observer perspective. You're imagining how you look to them. And that imagined version, it's harsh. You see yourself stumbling, looking awkward, sounding dumb. You see the performance, not the interaction. And because that mental movie feels so vivid, so visual, so real, your brain treats it like documentation. But it's not. It's a reconstruction built from your worst fears about how you appeared. You're not remembering the conversation. You're remembering your imagined audience version of you. Okay, let's pause for a reality check, because I don't want to overclaim here. Sometimes you do look anxious. Research shows that anxiety can produce visible signs: shaky voice, avoidance of eye contact, physical tension. And sometimes people do notice, but here's the distortion. Studies comparing how socially anxious people rate their own performance versus how observers rate them consistently find the same thing. Your self-ratings are harsher, often way harsher. You think everyone noticed. You think everyone judged. You think it defined the entire interaction. They probably didn't. And it probably didn't. Your brain takes, "I felt anxious and maybe looked a little nervous," and upgrades it to, "Everyone saw through me and now they think I'm broken." That upgrade? That's the edit. So what do you actually do with this? First, stop treating the replay as evidence. The fact that you can vividly remember one awkward second does not mean that second defined the conversation. Vividness is not accuracy. Detail is not proof. Your brain is giving you a reconstruction, and reconstructions can be wrong. Second, ask yourself, what am I not remembering? Because if your attention was focused inward during the conversation and your brain has been filtering out neutral and positive cues ever since, then the replay is incomplete by design. The missing evidence might be the most important evidence. Third, notice when you're watching the mental movie from the outside. That observer perspective thing, that's a tell. When you catch yourself imagining how you looked, you're no longer remembering. You're speculating. And speculation shaped by social anxiety is not reliable. Fourth, if you want to reduce how much power these replays have, you have to start shifting your attention outward during the conversation. Not perfectly, not all at once, but noticing when you're monitoring yourself and gently bringing your focus back to the other person. What are they actually saying? What's their tone? What's their face doing? The more real data you gather in the moment, the less room there is for the anxious editor to fill in the gaps later. Here's the thing I want you to walk away with. You are not broken. Your brain is not malfunctioning. It's trying to protect you. It thinks that by replaying every possible mistake, it can help you avoid rejection next time. It thinks that by scanning for threat, it's keeping you safe. But what it's actually doing is turning reconstructions into convictions. It's giving you a distorted edit and calling it the truth. And once you see that, once you understand that the replay is not a recording, that memory is malleable, that your post-conversation spiral is a process with predictable mechanics, you start to get some distance from it. You don't have to believe every thought your anxious brain hands you after a conversation. The goal isn't to convince yourself every interaction went perfectly. It's to stop treating your anxious edit as the official version, because it's not. So here's my question for you. What's one conversation you've been replaying that might be more distorted than you think?